Because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants Warm-Up.
Way back there! Goodbye!
On the sports leader.
We are back. What's going on, folks? Kerry Crowley hanging out with you Saturday morning, getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. It's the Giants and Rockies coming your way at 1:05 Pacific time, a cold and windy Oracle Park. Expected this afternoon as the Giants trying to take the edge in this series. They lose in crushing fashion on Thursday evening for their first three-game losing streak of the season, but they bounce back on Friday night. Matt Chapman, a big home run. Robbie Ray was exceptional. Hayden Birdsong shut the door. The Giants win at 4-0 over the Colorado Rockies. Back at it today at Star Wars weekend out at Oracle Park. You already know I hate that idea, but nevertheless, I'm sure there are many of you out there excited to head out to the ballpark and partake in the festivities, and it should be a good day out at Oracle Park. The Giants trying to get back going as National League West play gets underway here. A very tough week, at least to open things up in the National League West. Of course, the Giants can rebound with wins today and tomorrow against the Rockies to go 500 against the division this week, but a loss on Tuesday in San Diego in frustrating fashion. Logan Webb fell behind 3-0 early in the ballgame. The Giants never were able to catch up in that game. And then Wednesday afternoon, Landon Roop just didn't have it against the San Diego Padres. Once again, the Giants clawed their way back into it, but the Giants were not able to get the job done to complete the comeback against that vaunted San Diego bullpen. So they come back to Oracle Park on Thursday evening with high hopes. Justin Verlander, 42-year-old right-hander, looking for his first win in a Giants uniform, signed in San Francisco, came to the orange and black because Buster Posey convinced him this is a place that could use his veteran leadership. This is a city where he could ultimately add to his win total. 262 entering the season, wants to pitch until he's 45, at least that's the rumor on the street, and he wants to continue to chase 300 wins, that milestone victory total that Randy Johnson was able to reach in 2009 with the San Francisco Giants. But Verlander yet to win a ball game. He was in line to win on Thursday evening when he threw 6 1/3 innings of a 2-run ball, but Tyler Rogers, the most dependable arm in the Giants bullpen, he gave up the lead. Verlander takes the no decision. Rogers takes the loss as the Giants fall 4-3 to a Colorado Rockies team that entered play on Thursday with just 5 wins on the season, had not won back-to-back games. Of course, by winning on Wednesday, by winning on Thursday, the Rockies finally won back-to-back games, but the Giants do bounce back on Friday evening in a really strong performance from Robbie Ray. I think that was my big takeaway from Friday evening was Robbie Ray is starting to look like the pitcher that the Giants thought they would be acquiring way back in January of 2024 when Farhan Zaidi swung the deal. It was a sunk cost deal for both sides. It was Mitch Haniger and Anthony DeSclafani going to the Seattle Mariners. I think the Giants even threw in some cash to make sure that the salaries would match up. Robbie Ray coming back to the San Francisco Giants, of course, had undergone Tommy John surgery back in 2023. So the Giants knew that, hey, anything they could get out of him in 2024 was going to be a bonus. They were in all likelihood not going to get all that much productivity from Robbie Ray, and certainly none during the first half of the season. He ends up recovering well from Tommy John surgery. He ends up being able to pitch pretty early in his timeline upon that recovery. Typically, starting pitchers need about 14, 16 months. Robbie Ray was able to come back about 14, 15 months after his Tommy John surgery that, again, had early in the 2023 season. So he rejoins the Giants rotation last July, ramps up, makes 7 starts for the San Francisco Giants, but never kind of regained the command that he had pre-surgery. And so I think that coming into this season, there were obviously some question marks, but there was also some excitement within the Giants organization that, hey, this might be the guy who looks like the former, Diamondbacks pitcher who was so tough on Giants hitters when he was throwing down for Arizona. This might be the guy who could come close to regaining that Cy Young form that he showed with the Toronto Blue Jays back in the 2021 season that ultimately landed him that 5-year, $150 million contract. And the first few starts out this season, I have to admit, I wasn't convinced. The first few starts out for Robbie Ray, I thought were relatively mediocre. I was, of the mindset that this is what a early career Blake Snell looked like before he got really good at honing the fastball, honing the curveball. Robbie Ray, to me, at the beginning of this season, was nothing special. He looked more like a number 4 starter than a number 2 starter. Now, last 2 outings for Robbie Ray. He's gone 7 innings in each of those games, So 14 innings, has given up just 7 hits. He's walked just 3 batters over those 14 innings, and he has struck out 16. 8 strikeouts on April 26th against the Texas Rangers in a 3-2 win for the San Francisco Giants. And last night, 8 strikeouts, just 2 hits allowed, no runs, 2 walks against the Colorado Rockies as the Giants won it. How about this? The Giants and Robbie Ray starts this season are now a perfect 7-0, dating back to March 30th, the third day of the regular season, when Ray went 5 1/3, giving up 3 runs. The Giants won that game against Cincinnati 6-3. Next time out, he's at home against his former ball club, the Seattle Mariners. He goes 6 innings, but he walks 5. It wasn't the most convincing outing for me, but he gives up just 1 run. The Giants win that ball game 4-1, and then they go to Yankee Stadium, and Ray pitches in miserable conditions. He looked uncomfortable the whole night. I don't think the temperature cracked 40 degrees as the rain was pelting Giants players out on the field at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, April 11th. But the Giants hitters showed up in a major way. So Robbie Ray won that rain-shortened ball game 9-1 for the San Francisco Giants, despite throwing just 4 innings. Next time out, he again looks uncomfortable against the Philadelphia Phillies. He gives up 6 hits and 5 walks. That's 11 base runners in 4 innings. The Giants spotted him an early 4-0 lead. Robbie Ray then gives up 4 runs in the first inning, and he looked like a disaster. At this point in the season, 4 starts in, I'm thinking, all this guy does is walk hitters. He nibbles around the corners. He's not consistent in coming into the strike zone, and yet the Giants' offense exploded in the middle and late innings, and they won that ball game 11-4. So, first 4 starts of the season, I'm unconvinced that Robbie Ray is actually going to be good this year. I, again, think that he looks more like a number 4 starter than a number 2 starter, but the Giants just kept winning. And from that point forward, over the next 3 outings, Robbie Ray's been pretty darn good. This is the pitcher the Giants thought that they would have this season. Robbie Ray starting to round into form, starting to show the form, quite honestly, that he showed during spring training, during Cactus League play, that made Buster Posey, that made Zach Manassi, and that made Bob Melvin convinced that he could be a valuable contributor in this Giants rotation and could pitch like a number 2 or a number 3 starter instead of a number 4 starter for the San Francisco Giants. And so he comes out April 21st against the Milwaukee Brewers, goes just 5 innings, but I thought it was much more controlled of an outing for Robbie Ray. He did give up 3 walks and 5 hits, so it wasn't perfect. But I'll tell you, in watching that game against Milwaukee, I thought that he was much more of an attacker of the strike zone than he was being cautious in pitching around the strike zone, trying to induce soft contact on the borders against the Milwaukee Brewers. And I really do think that on April 21st against Milwaukee, the strike zone just looked small. It just looked like it would have been difficult to navigate that night. So that was the night where I said, okay, Robbie Ray looks like he might be able to turn the corner. And at some point, if the Giants are going to reach their full potential, they need that to happen. But they won that ball game 5-2. So they were 5-0 in 5 Robbie Ray starts, despite the fact that outside of his April 5th game against the Seattle Mariners, they hadn't seen him pitch all that well. They'd seen him, limit hard contact. They'd seen him limit the number of runs opponents scored, but there was never the high strikeout game. There was never the game where you thought, okay, this guy's shoving. We are winning because of Robbie Ray. They were winning with Robbie Ray. April 26th against the Texas Rangers, everything changes. They have now started to win in the last 2 outings because of Robbie Ray. And that is what the Giants anticipated when they signed up to pay him $25 million over this season and next season, because they knew that when they traded for him, even though it was a Farhan Zaidi trade, there were people inside the organization who were still working in this front office right now. They knew that Robbie Ray in all likelihood was going to opt in, and they were going to owe him $50 million over 25 and 26. And so they anticipated that he could regain form that would make him look like a valuable major league pitcher, like make him look like a front end of the rotation starter instead of a back end of the rotation starter. So April 26th, he goes out against the Texas Rangers and he shoves 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs. To me, the most important stat, just 1 walk. It was his fewest walks since he'd walked just 1 batter in the 3rd game of the season against the Cincinnati Reds. 8 strikeouts, tied for the season high. He looked completely in command. And most importantly, for the San Francisco Giants, 7 innings pitched. It was the first time since coming back from Tommy John surgery last season that Robbie Ray had reached the 7-inning threshold. And he did it on 97 pitches. He was remarkably efficient against the Texas Rangers. So you get him out here on Friday evening at Oracle Park. And it's a Colorado Rockies lineup that's bad. There's no other way to say it. This is a lousy Rockies team that isn't going anywhere this season except for potentially record books for the most feudal seasons in Major League history. This is a Rockies team that will be in company of the 2024 Chicago White Sox if it can't start to turn things around in the near future. Now, Thursday night, the Rockies looked capable of turning things around, but Friday night, Robbie Ray reminded them why they will finish in 5th place in the National League West and why this season is going to be such a train wreck for Colorado. He goes 7 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. For the first time this season, no runs allowed. He brings that ERA down to 3.05 on the season, and he has 7 innings on 86 pitches. 57 strikes, so he was in and around the strike zone, which is exactly what the Giants need when Robbie Ray is at his best. 57 strikes. How about this? When Ray threw 98 pitches at Yankee Stadium in 4 innings back on April 11th, he threw 56 strikes. So 12 fewer pitches last night against the Colorado Rockies, 1 more strike. You love to see that from Robbie Ray. He got 9 ground balls against the Rockies. That is his season high. He's a fly ball pitcher. He had 11 fly balls against the Texas Rangers, 11 fly balls earlier in the season against the Seattle Mariners. When you get fly balls as a pitcher, it can work to your detriment because, in some stadiums around the country, those deep fly balls, those 360, 370, 375-foot fly balls, those are going to be home runs in certain portions of different stadiums. Now, by pitching at Oracle Park, which Robbie Ray has done his last 3 times out and has done in his 3 best outings to me, April 5th against the Mariners, April 26th against the Texas Rangers, May 2nd, now against the Colorado Rockies. He's pitched at Oracle Park, and he's starting to induce more ground balls. 8 ground balls against the Brewers, 7 against the Texas Rangers, and then 9 against the Rockies last night. So 9 ground balls, 8 strikeouts last night. He was outstanding, and the Giants will absolutely take that, and they need it. They need it. He got 9 swinging strikes last night, which is, of course, not double digits. You want to be in double digits if you're throwing 7 innings. But I'll give you this. 86 pitches means he was inducing a lot of soft contact. And so, can you believe in Robbie Ray moving forward? I'm not entirely sure just yet. I think that time will tell, but the Giants will find out because Robbie Ray's next test is scheduled to come Wednesday, May 7th, against the Chicago Cubs. And the Chicago Cubs are one of the 6 teams in the major leagues, 5 teams in the National League that are at the 20-win threshold right now. The Giants are one of them. They got there last night with the win over the Rockies. The Cubs are a really good offense. That is a team with a ton of might. It is better than the Texas Rangers. It is far superior to the Colorado Rockies team that Ray dominated yesterday evening. But now he will face the Chicago Cubs. Then he will face the Arizona Diamondbacks, another good offense. May end up facing the Sacramento A's, who are also a good offense. During that homestand that the Giants have from May 12th to May 21st, Robbie Ray should pitch twice during that span. So the month of May will test Robbie Ray. And it's going to be a very important test that he faces. But after having my doubts early in the season, after not being convinced by a pitcher who I thought was nibbling around the corners of the strike zone, who wasn't pitching with the type of conviction you need to be a front end of the rotation starter the last 2 outings out. And I know that one's come against the Rockies, lowly offense. They have convinced me that Ray has what it takes to bounce back, to succeed, and be a key point of this Giants rotation moving forward. More on Robbie Ray, more on the San Francisco Giants. We will give you a spin around Major League Baseball, looking at scores from Friday evening. We'll give you the lineups today, when the respective managers, Bob Melvin and Bud Black, put them out. And we will also be more than happy to take your phone calls. 415-808-KNBR is the number. My name is Kerry Crowley. This show is Giants Warm Up. I would love to hear from you this morning. We have no interviews, no podcasts being played during this show. It is all us. So you want to dial in, you want to let me know your thoughts on the San Francisco Giants, I will put you right through. We've got Raph behind the glass in the studio. Cannot wait to talk Giants baseball as we get you set for Game 3 of this 4-game set between National League West foes San Francisco and Colorado here on KNBR 104.5, 680, the Sports Leader.
Young. Now Chapman drives one. Deep left field. Gone! Halfway up the bleachers. In straightaway left field. That one was crushed. And that had to feel good for Matt Chapman. His 6th home run of the year. It's 4-0 Giants.
While Bob Melvin preps the men in orange and black, we'll prep you for today's ball game as our Giants warm-up continues on the Sports Leader.
418 feet for Matt Chapman on that solo blast in Friday's ball game. The Giants win at 4-0 over the Colorado Rockies, improving to 20-13, becoming the 6th team in Major League Baseball to reach the 20-win threshold. They're 10-5 inside Oracle Park. The Rockies, meanwhile, 6-26 on the season, 2-15 on the road away from Coors Field. It just puts into perspective how much the Giants let one get away on Thursday. Tyler Rogers normally nails in the 8th inning, so solid for the San Francisco Giants. He is the man who takes the loss for this ball club, and it puts pressure on the Giants to win each of the next 2 games because the Rockies are the team that you absolutely have to beat. The Giants saw earlier this week how difficult the National League West is really going to be. I mean, you saw on Tuesday evening, Nick Pivetta, when he's on his game, he's really good. I think that Padres rotation has the potential to be very dangerous in the playoffs. And obviously they need their position players healthy. They need Tatis and Jackson Merrill firing on all cylinders. But I don't care how many games San Diego wins this year, whether it's 87, whether it's 97. I think the Padres have the chance to be really good in the postseason because that bullpen is so strong. And when you saw Nick Pivetta on Tuesday night and Michael King on Wednesday, it was a reminder that their rotation is pretty darn good as well. Michael King, I mean, talk about a steal that the Padres got in that deal for Juan Soto. Amazing that San Diego was able to recover some pieces for Juan Soto after giving up so much in the deal that sent Soto, of course, from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, out to San Diego. They gave up James Wood, who's now starring with the Nationals. They gave up C.J. Abrams, the shortstop, Mackenzie Gore, who's been good in the rotation for Washington. And then the Padres turn around and flip Soto back to the Yankees, and they get Michael King in that deal. And obviously Michael King is not Juan Soto, and it was just one season, but Michael King, really one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball. Don't be surprised if you look up at the end of the season and he's finishing top 5 in National League Cy Young voting. I think he is that good, and the Giants got a firsthand look at it on Wednesday afternoon in that loss at Petco Park. So I am Kerry Crowley. The show is Giants Warm-Up. We're getting you set for Giants baseball coming your way 1:05 Pacific time here on KNBR, the Sports Leader. We're going to take a spin around Major League Baseball. Look at the scores from Friday evening and then set you up for Saturday's games as well. So first score I want to tell you about, the Cincinnati Reds won at home 6-1 over the Washington Nationals. It was Hunter Green who's outstanding, limiting the Nationals last night, picking up win number 4. The Giants saw Green twice this season. He outdueled Logan Webb back at Oracle Park earlier this year. Of course, the Giants were able to win on opening day in Cincinnati with the Giants doing damage against that bullpen of the Reds. Ian Jabot giving it up to Wilmer Flores in the 9th inning, of course. Mitchell Parker takes the loss for the Nationals. He drops to 3-2 with a 3.48 ERA. Really one of the league's best stories in the month of April. Mitchell Parker kind of coming out of nowhere and just being really the best pitcher in that Nationals rotation. But the last 2 outings, he's really struggled. Gave up a ton last night to the Cincinnati Reds. It was Santiago Espinal who put the Reds ahead with a double in the 2nd inning, and they never looked back in that ball game. Open this segment talking, of course, about that Padres rotation, how good it can be. The Padres won 9-4 on Friday evening over the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Padres improving to 20-11 on the year. They won on the road. They're just 6-7 away from Petco Park, where they've already sold out 15 games this season. The Pirates, meanwhile, 12-21. Winning pitcher in that one was Jeremiah Estrada out of the bullpen for San Diego. I'll touch on him in a moment. Mitch Keller, 1-3 now with a 4.38 ERA for Pittsburgh. Gavin Sheets had a game-tying home run before the Padres ran away with that one. Here's what I want to note on Jeremiah Estrada. Giants saw him out of the bullpen for San Diego on Tuesday. I think he threw like a clean 7th or 8th inning, and then they saw him kind of in a fireman role behind Michael King on Wednesday. Jeremiah Estrada, to me, has the stuff of someone who could make that transition, a la Michael King, a la Jordan Hicks, a la Seth Lugo, from a bullpen to a rotation. He is that good, and he was dominating Giants hitters earlier this week. I mean, you're talking about a fastball that runs up in the mid to high 90s. You're talking about a breaking ball that's really, really good as well. And I believe he also throws a splitter. So I'll get this for you in a moment. But yeah, it's Jeremiah Estrada throwing the fastball 65% of the time, and it averages 97.6 miles an hour. The splitter, which he throws 19% of the time, an incredible pitch, hasn't given up a hit on the splitter this year. And then the slider, he throws 16% of the time. He's given up 2 hits on that one, but has also picked up 2 strikeouts. I think that he has the potential to be a Kevin Gausman level starter if San Diego ever put him in its rotation. I swear, this guy was that impressive out of the bullpen to me for the Padres against the Giants. They don't want to see him that much. A 2017 6th-round pick of the Chicago Cubs was ultimately traded to the San Diego Padres, was really good last season, a 2.95 ERA over 62 games. His stuff just screams starter. You know when you watch Hayden Birdsong on Friday evening closing the door for the San Francisco Giants? I'll go deeper on Birdsong later on during Giants warm-up. I think that the days in the bullpen have got to be coming to an end because the Giants are kind of wasting him down there. We've gotten to the point where you've preserved his arm. You've made sure that he's not going to rack up 180, 200 innings this year. His stuff is so good. Jeremiah Estrada's stuff is so good. When I see these pitchers in the 7th and 8th inning with 3+ pitches, which I thought Birdsong obviously has, which I thought Estrada had earlier this week when the Giants saw him, put him in the rotation, see what happens. Otherwise, you're just wasting guys, in my opinion, down in the 7th and 8th innings, where really that's where 2-pitch guys thrive. Fastball slider, fastball curveball, fastball changeup. You've got to have 2+ pitches to succeed as a major league reliever. When you've got 3, you can go right into the rotation. So, more scores around Major League Baseball. Phillies won 3-2 at home, Citizens Bank Park, over the Arizona Diamondbacks. It was Banks picking up the win. Jose Alvarado was save number 6. Kyle Schwarber hit a game-tying home run in that one. Arizona, 2 runs on 10 hits, so not very good numbers with runners in scoring position last night for the Diamondbacks, who fell to 17-15 on the year. They've been good away from Chase Field, 9-7 now, but the Phillies, 12-5 at Citizens Bank Park, where the Giants were able to get a split. So think about that. The Phillies, outside of playing the Giants at Citizens Bank Park, 10-3 on the season. So that was a really impressive showing for the Giants. Phillies up to 18-14 on the year. And I was thinking about this. 415-808 KNBR is the number. If you're a Giants fan, who are you rooting for in that series? Is it the Phillies? Is it the Diamondbacks? Because on one hand, if the Phillies win, maybe, you've got a chance to catch the Mets and run them down in the National League East over the course of the season. But you're also talking about 2 teams that'll be in the wild card hunt. The Giants will be in the wild card hunt this year. I think that the Dodgers and the Padres are probably going to run away with this National League West. I don't see the Giants being able to keep pace, but I do think the Giants can win 86, 87, 88 games if things go their way. I think that the Phillies and the Diamondbacks are going to be primary competition if the Mets are able to stay atop the National League East. So kind of a tough matchup and one that you're probably not thinking that way in the month of May. But just a quick note, I thought, is it good that the Phillies are beating the Diamondbacks? Traditionally, you think, a National League West opponent, of course you want them to lose. But in this wild card era, maybe you don't want Phillies to start racking up wins. Maybe you want the Diamondbacks to float around 500 all season. Just some food for thought there. Some more scores around Major League Baseball. The Baltimore Orioles won 3-0 over the Kansas City Royals last night at Camden Yards. It was Ryan O'Hearn hitting a 2-run homer for the Orioles. Dean Kramer got the win. Michael Wacha taking the loss for Kansas City. And Felix Bautista saved number 6 of the season. The Royals climbed back over 500 earlier this week. They got off to a terrible start this season, but they won something like 7 of their last 8 heading into last night's ball game, and then Dean Kramer shut them down at Camden Yards. Another shutout in the American League last night. The Yankees won 3-0 over the Tampa Bay Rays. Max Fried was sensational in this ball game. Just 1 hit allowed for the Yankees left-hander, who's now 6-0 on the season, a 1.01 earned run average. Luke Weaver gets the save in that one, so that means Aaron Boone trusting Weaver for the save, not Devin Williams. Some closer controversy in New York after Devin Williams, the big marquee acquisition this offseason, was just terrible at the outset of the year. Luke Weaver has been outstanding, has not, at least to my knowledge, allowed a run. I know that he had a string of like 11 consecutive outings in which he did not give up a run. Ryan Pepio took the loss in that one, but it was a hard luck loss. Pepio had a chance to get out of an inning, but ended up giving up a 3-run home run to Paul Goldschmidt for the New York Yankees as Goldschmidt went into that short porch, really just right over that right field wall, and that's how New York ended up winning that ball game. Goldschmidt has been a very positive acquisition, and it makes me think the Giants could have push a little bit more aggressively this offseason, maybe try to bring in Paul Goldschmidt. Maybe that would have solved some of their first base issues that they've encountered on the young season. Toronto Blue Jays won 5-3 over the Cleveland Guardians last night up at Rogers Center in Canada. George Springer hit a solo home run. Jacob Junis, forever Giant, taking the loss in that ball game for the Cleveland Guardians, who, of course, managed by Stephen Vogt. I believe that Vogt and Junis, their time in San Francisco may have overlapped. If not, there's plenty of people inside that Guardians organization, from Kai Correa, former Giants bench coach, Craig Albernes, who's now bench coach there in Cleveland, former Giants catching coach Alyssa Nacken working in the Guardians organization. A lot of crossover with former Giants employees employed now by the Cleveland Guardians. Jeff Hoffman picks up save number 7 for the Toronto Blue Jays in that ball game. Boston Red Sox won 6-1 last night over the Minnesota Twins. Jarren Duran made just a sensational catch to help the Red Sox preserve that lead. They're now 18-16 on the season. The Twins, meanwhile, who the Giants, of course, will see next weekend at Target Field in Minnesota, they are 13-20 on the year. Louis Varland takes the loss in that one for Minnesota. Red Sox did get bad news today. As Tristan Casas, he's got some sort of fracture. He's headed to the injured list, and he appears to be out for a while. The Sacramento A's 6-1 winners over the Miami Marlins last night in the state of Florida. The A's now 18-15 on the year, 12-6 away from Raleigh Field in Sacramento. Is it still Raleigh Field? It's probably got a different name at this point. Gunnar Hoglund made his major league debut last night, former second-round draft pick by the Oakland Athletics. Now the Athletics, they've dropped Oakland. Hoglund 1-0, 1.50 ERA after his outing. Dodgers won 2-1 over the Atlanta Braves last night. The Braves still sitting at 14-17, trying to get going this year. They are 8-4 at home this year, but the Dodgers 2-1 winners. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the best ERA in the National League among qualified starters, .90 on the season. So very good start for Yamamoto. We'll give you some more scores later on, but we do have a caller, and it's Steve in Las Vegas. Steve in Las Vegas has been kind enough to dial in here to Giants warm-up here. Steve, what's going on this morning?
Hey, Kerry, good morning. I always enjoy the pregame and, of course, the game. I wanted to mention something. You know, even though I'm down here now, I'm from Petaluma and still keep up with the Giants, but I was listening to MLB Network earlier in the week, and Steve Phillips came on, and they were talking about the Giants, and he says, look, folks, this is all a mirage. By Memorial Day, they will be a fourth-place team.
Wow. Fourth place.
I mean, no respect anywhere.
Yeah, and also on top of that, Steve, the Giants played the toughest schedule in the majors in the month of April. Their schedule in May is comparatively very easy. They've got the Twins, they've got the Royals, the Nationals, the Marlins to finish out the month. I know that the A's are good, but the A's are still beatable at home. And look, the Rockies, this is a weekend where the Giants should win 3 of 4 games, even though they lost on Thursday night. They've got to take care of business. I don't know that if the Giants fade, it happens by Memorial Day. I think Steve Phillips is wrong there.
I agree 100%. And you know, one other thing, Kerry, I bounce around a lot, listening to different stuff, and there's a certain segment out there that keeps saying, well, these are all Farhan's guys. What did Posey really do? And I think that perspective and that thought, people aren't watching the games because it might be most of the same players, but it's a totally different brand of baseball.
Completely agree with you. Go expand on that, and then I'll give you some more thoughts.
Yeah, first of all, there's definitely a cohesion among the team. I do believe that they are playing for each other. You see guys stealing bases. You see guys bunting. You see guys going the other way. None of that stuff was going on in the last 2 or 3 years, and it was evident. And now you have all this. You have this, guys going to right, guys stealing bases left and right. And so it's just, when I hear that, I get mad because it's a totally different brand of baseball than it was with basically the same guys.
Exactly. And Steve, here's the biggest difference to me. On the pitching side, Right now, with Buster Posey in charge, it is very clear that he and Bob Melvin want to get their starters through at least 6 innings and oftentimes 7 innings. They are pushing these guys in situations where there would have been a quick hook in the past, where the organizational philosophy was, let's go to the bullpen, let's bring in a fresh arm. We don't want any middle inning chaos. And I think that you're seeing the Giants really push their starting pitchers for better or worse. And I think through the first month of the season, it was for better to try to get themselves in position to set the bullpen up for success. When you've got 17 games in 17 days, like the Giants just did, you need starters to push through. If you give up 3 early runs, you still need to be able to go out and throw through the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th innings. I think that that's something that we've seen. And also, Tyler Fitzgerald mentioned this earlier this season, Steve, and I think that this was a really good point for a Giants player. Had he struggled last year, he would have been sent down. When he struggled at the beginning of this season, he was kept in the order. He was trusted. They believed that it wasn't just going to be 2 weeks of games that would tell you if he was capable of being a big hitter for this team. So he had an important ball game against the Philadelphia Phillies a few weeks ago, helped him out of that slump. He's obviously on the injured list right now, but was hitting close to 300. The OPS was over 800 when he went on the injured list. The Giants trusted him to figure it out, and I think that having that trust in young players, having that trust in veterans like Mike Yastrzemski, like you're not going to be a platoon player every day as long as you produce against left-handed pitching. These guys know that if they're putting up good numbers, if they're trusted to to come through in situations, that they will maintain their spot on this team. They will maintain their spot on this depth chart. And I don't think that that was true the last few seasons.
No, there was guys coming up and down almost every single day, sometimes 2 and 3.
There's not been a single performance-based transaction for the San Francisco Giants this season. There's not been a player who's come up because they've played extremely well or who's been sent down because they've played extremely poorly. The only transactions that the Giants have made this season have been injured list related.
Yeah. And, look at Lamont. He's starting to turn around now. They stuck with him through thick and thin.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an important characteristic of this. I think that, look, they also were stuck a little bit. Gerard Encarnacion on the injured list right now. They kind of had to force Lamont Wade Jr. into action. Casey Schmidt on the injured list. But at the same time, he has a track record in the major leagues of being a successful player. To me, the last week, I know that the numbers don't tell you everything, and right now the numbers are still bad for Lamont Wade Jr. I think the last week, the at-bat quality has improved significantly. I think that he's starting to see the ball much better. The swings he's getting off are much crisper, and I think it's only a matter of time before he brings that average up. I'm a long-term believer that Wade can figure it out, and I think that the Giants have been forced to, in this situation, kind of ride with him. But I also think that there's benefits to doing that, and it's a long season. You want people to believe in you long term, and while you may lose some games early because of that belief, I think that you may win some more games late as well because guys will feel trusted over the course of the season.
Agree with you 100%, Gary. Thank you.
All right, appreciate the phone call. Thanks so much, Steve. 415-808 KNBR is the number. Giants warm-up is the show. Let's head out to Jeff in Sebastopol. Jeff in Sebastopol, you are on Giants warm-up. What's going on, Jeff?
Hey, I just want to chime in and say, well, by the way, great show. I really look forward to the weekends and your work.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I just want to chime in to say it's the same players by and large, but they're doing what is emphasized. And I was a classroom teacher and a coach, prep, and so it's overwhelming what to teach somebody. But they'll do what you emphasize, and once they get some success, these guys are men and young men sometimes. They'll start to believe that that's what you do. Yeah. It's really cool, and it's just been really fun to watch. It's like night and day from 2 years ago. Oh, my God. It is so fun to watch the game because you think, these guys can come from behind. Well, they'll get the run. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really interesting to me about this team, Jeff, is I think that there's a much more targeted approach at the plate, and we're seeing that in some of these comebacks that the Giants have pulled off. And so you've got a situation where there's a runner on second and there's less than 2 outs. You see a right-handed hitter try to punch the ball to the right side of the infield instead of trying to hit the ball over the fence every time. It is a refreshing approach at the plate, and I think that over the long haul, that will pay off for this team.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I guess my, you start to get a little success and then think, they're going to make the playoffs. But, I'm just happy they play so much better baseball. It's just makes it, as a fan, makes it so fun. If they don't make the playoffs, I'm okay. Then I have more hope for the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I completely understand where you're coming from. I still think I still think the playoffs should be the goal. I still think that the playoffs It would be a huge disappointment to me if they didn't make it, because most of the last decade has been spent toiling for this franchise. And I know that you can't expect Buster Posey to come in and change things overnight, but I still think that he should hold himself to the standard of, hey, we've got to play meaningful baseball. We've got to get into October. And then, come July, you assess the roster and say, can we make upgrades at the trade deadline? Can we figure out a way to position ourselves to go on a run in September that makes us dangerous in October? And I think that should be the goal for the San Francisco Giants. Right now, they're still kind of in that foundation setting mode. They're still trying to build that identity. And I think for the most part, they've done a much more successful job this season building an identity on the mound at the plate than they did last season, with many of the same pitchers, many of the same position players, and of course the same manager in Bob Melvin as well. Yeah,
I totally agree. And luckily we've had pretty good health too, so that's also a bonus.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jeff, thank you so much for the call. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Let's head out to Rob in San Francisco. Rob in San Francisco, you're on Giants Warm Up. What's going on, Rob?
Hey, how you doing, Kerry? Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, doing well on my end. What's on your mind?
Well, I think, first of all, the Giants are really fun to watch right now. And I agree with one of your previous callers that, it's a lot of the same players, but I think Posey has just changed the whole just mood and morale of the team. So they just look like they enjoy playing together. And, a lot of guys are not hitting that should be. But the one thing about what they're doing with pitching right now that I think is strange, I want to get your opinion on, is Birdsong just looks so good, and he's a starter. And Hicks just is all over the place, and he's really a reliever. The Cardinals tried to turn him into a starter, by the way, and it didn't work in St. Louis.
Yeah, it was a really half-hearted effort that St. Louis made one year.
Really? I mean, and I don't know. Maybe Hicks's posture on this is, I'm a starter, don't mess with me. But, what do you think? I mean, do you think they're going to make a move there? I mean, they don't have to swap them out. They could just promote, I don't know if promote's the right word, but they could put Birdsong in the starting rotation. I think if they swapped them, it would make the rotation better, and it would make the pen probably better. I don't know. What's your opinion?
So it's an interesting question, Rob, and I think this is one that's probably been on the minds of Buster Posey, Zach Manassi, and Bob Melvin since the middle of spring training, when they realized that Landon Roop was emerging and he was someone that they wanted to keep in the rotation, when it was clear that Hayden Birdsong had great stuff. I think the challenge for the Giants, and this is one that every team encounters with young pitchers, is you don't want Hayden Birdsong throwing more than about 160 innings this year, because he just doesn't have a track record of logging that many in the minor leagues. And so you'd be asking him to take on a much bigger workload. So I think part of the reason he started the season in the bullpen is it was workload management, so that they knew come July, come August, they could insert him into the rotation, and that he would be fresh in the event that the Giants would be able to get to October. He would be one of the three arms they could trust in the rotation. Now, the challenge in doing that is he's been exceptional out of the bullpen, Rob, and I'll be honest, I was fine with this game plan through the first month of the season. I thought that I might have the patience to see this through until June, July 1st. I think Hayden Birdsong has reached the point where it might be time to get him in the rotation. And right now, I actually don't think that Jordan Hicks is the guy that I would take out. I think Landon Roop is the guy who I would take out, because I look at Roop as someone who's got two pitches and might be more effective as a two-inning reliever. And I look at Jordan Hicks as someone who can still give you innings right now as a starter. And you build up Kyle Harrison a little bit more in the minor leagues. And once Harrison proves that he earns that spot at the major league level, then I transition Hicks to the bullpen. And maybe that's a little bit more toward the middle of the season.
And that is a good point. Because, ultimately, you're not going to get 200 innings out of Hicks. You're maybe going to get 150 innings out of Hicks, and so he's going into the bullpen at some point. They had a graphic on one of the games that showed his ERA growth, I'll call it, from month to month.
Nice way to put it.
ERA. His April ERA was fantastic. And then it just kept going up until they had to shut him down. But Birdsong just has the reason I think Birdsong works in the pen is he's just got the mentality for it too.
He has a dream mentality for every fan to watch.
Yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate your opinion on that. I hopefully they're going to take the next two from Colorado and then go in. And I think the next series against the Cubbies are for real.
That's a good team. That's a really good team.
they're giving up a lot of runs, but I think they've scored the most runs in baseball. So that's going to be a challenge for the rotation. But well, I appreciate your opinion and taking my call. I call on every now and then. It's always interesting to talk to you. And hey, man, go Giants, all right? Take care.
There you go. Thank you so much, Rob. Appreciate the phone call. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Some good calls here in the 10 o'clock hour. I love chatting Giants baseball with you. If you have any thoughts on the state of this team, state of this franchise, we'd love to hear from you on the other side. I am Kerry Crowley. This show is Giants Warm Up. First pitch coming your way, 1:05 Pacific time from Oracle Park. You're listening to KNBR, the sports leader.
Here's the stretch. Ray throws. Strike three called. A slider at the knees, which I think was the only pitch that he threw in the strike zone. And it's the only one that Trejo took.
It's almost time for hot dogs, peanuts, cold beers, and orange and black baseball. Our Giants warm-up rolls on the sports leader.
We are back. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you Saturday morning, getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. Jordan Hicks on the mound this afternoon, trying to win against the Colorado Rockies, something that the vast majority of teams have figured out with ease this season. The Giants on Thursday night, they took a crushing 4-3 loss. Tyler Rogers gave it up in the 8th inning, but they bounced back on Friday. They won it 4-0. Robbie Ray was sensational. Matt Chapman homered, and the Giants need to win the next 2 games of this series. We got a quick segment here for you before we reset things in the 11 o'clock hour. Some great phone calls here in the 10 o'clock hour. Love chatting ball with you Giants fans out there. We'll do so later on this afternoon. I'm filling in for Bill Lasky on Extra Innings. Looking forward to those conversations with you post-game today after we watch Jordan Hicks against these Colorado Rockies. One thing that I did want to do, continue to run through our out-of-town scores from Friday night, as we did not quite get through all of the out-of-town scores before the barrage of phone calls that spiced up last segment. The Chicago White Sox won 7-3 over the Houston Astros. Luis Robert Jr. hit a big home run for Chicago in that one as Framber Valdez took his 4th loss of the season, 4.39 ERA for Valdez. Losing some of his value right now for the Houston Astros as he heads into, I believe, free agency next offseason. Seattle Mariners won in a big way. Cal Raleigh hit a big grand slam for the Mariners in Texas over the Rangers, 13-1. Brian Wu, Bay Area native, was outstanding, 4-1 on the season. 2.58 ERA. Jack Leiter takes the loss for the Rangers, who's now 2-1 with a 4.58 ERA. The Cubs thumped the ball. Pete Crow Armstrong hit 2 homers last night as Chicago won 10-0 over the Milwaukee Brewers. Ben Brown, the winner in that one. Chris Flexen got save number 1 as he pitched the final 3 innings of that ball game for the Cubs to qualify for a save in a 10-run ball game. The New York Mets continued their winning ways. Pete Alonso hit a big 2-run home run. Clay Holmes outstanding, 4-1, 2.95 ERA on the season for the former Yankees reliever. They took it 9-3 over the St. Louis Cardinals. Sonny Gray, first loss of the season for the former Oakland Athletic. Old friend of Mike Yastrzemski over at Vanderbilt University. 3-1, 4.12 ERA for Gray on the season. And then another score to tell you about. Riley Green hit 2 home runs in the 9th inning for the Detroit Tigers as they won it 9-1 over the Angels down at the Big A in Anaheim. Kenley Jansen takes the loss for the Angels in that one as the Tigers are now 21-12, the class of the AL Central right now. Scott Harris, former Giants general manager, he is the president of baseball operations with the Detroit Tigers, and they are cleaning up right now. So, on the other side, we will give you the lineups today. They are out. Bud Black has put out the Rockies 1-9. Bob Melvin has penciled out what the Giants have in store for today's ball game. I am Kerry Crowley. This show is Giants Warm Up. More coming up next. You're listening to KNBR 104.5 680, the sports leader.
The pitch, little dribbler up the third base side, and that could be a hit. It's charged by Chapman. Here's the one-hop throw to first, and he got him. Wow, what a play.
Now back to the show built for the orange and black family. This is Giants Warm-Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
Some more strong defense from Matt Chapman last night over the hot corner, contributing with the glove and with the bat as he goes deep in the Giants' 4-0 win over the Colorado Rockies, bouncing back after a discouraging come from a head loss on Thursday evening. Justin Verlander, the chance to win his first game in a Giants uniform, spoiled by the normally dependable Tyler Rogers in the 8th inning of that ball game. I am Kerry Crowley. We're back here on Giants Warm-Up, getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. First pitch coming your way a little over 2 hours here as we get you set for a cold and windy afternoon out at Oracle Park. Giants will send Jordan Hicks to the mound, while the Rockies will go with a young right-hander, Bradley Blaylock. An interesting story, 32nd round draft pick out of Grayson High School in Loganville, Georgia by the Boston Red Sox back in 2019. Because MLB has since contracted the draft, you will never see a 32nd round draft pick make it to the major leagues again. This is someone who's gotten against all odds story, somehow landed his way into the Colorado Rockies organization. And look, his experience at the big league level thus far hasn't been pretty. 10 career games, 7 career starts, a 6.69 major league ERA. This season has been even tougher. 3 games today will be his second start of the season, 4th appearance, a 10.29 ERA. 7 innings pitched on the year, just 3 strikeouts right now for Bradley Blaylock. But the fact that he made it here at all is a testament to his journey, his story, and really the resilience and hard work that you have to be putting in, because when you're drafted in the 32nd round, you are almost immediately ticketed for a low-level bullpen spot, and you have to prove and fight your way through every level in the minor leagues. Someone has to be advocating for you. Some scout has to believe in you, and somehow Bradley Blaylock had that happen for him. So interested to see what he looks like against the San Francisco Giants this afternoon. Needless to say, it's an opportunity for this Giants offense to get going. It's a Giants offense that has struggled of late. I think we're at something like 10 consecutive games without seeing the Giants score at least 5 runs. That has got to change, and Blaylock could be the pitcher that it happens against. Here's the lineup that Rockies manager Bud Black has put out for his ball club this afternoon. Brennan Doyle leading things off. He is the center fielder for the Colorado Rockies. 4 homers, 15 runs batted in, 3 stolen bases on the season, a 244 average, and a 718 OPS out of the leadoff spot. Batting second today for the Rockies, it's the left fielder Jordan Beck, who's got 5 homers, 11 runs driven in, 4 stolen bases. He has been the Rockies' most consistent hitter thus far, a 266 average, but a 920 OPS. He's got some power. He can tag the baseball, and he is a key atop that Rockies lineup. Ryan McMahon, the veteran third baseman, will bat third today. The left-handed hitter has 3 homers, 5 runs driven in, but a 148 average and a 532 OPS on the season for McMahon. He's been a real disappointment for Bud Black's squad. He's hoping that he can turn his season around. And look, Ryan McMahon's one of those players who, it seems to me, regardless of what he's hitting, regardless of what the numbers are like, seems to always perform against the San Francisco Giants. So it wouldn't shock me at all if he has a big day in one of the next 2 days against this Giants ball club. The catcher Hunter Goodman will bat cleanup today for Colorado. He's got 5 homers and 15 runs driven in on the season. Impressive performance from Goodman so far with a 267 average and 804 OPS. Catcher position around Major League Baseball really fallen off a cliff from an offensive standpoint. Giants aren't the only team dealing with some significant issues from offensive catcher position, but Goodman providing some life in the middle of that Rockies order, and he's one of the few players who's been producing for this Colorado offense. Michael Toglia, the first baseman for the Rockies today, switch hitter. He'll hit left-handed against Jordan Hicks today. 3 homers, 13 driven in, 205 average, and just a 574 OPS. He's been struggling to drive the baseball so far this season. Nick Martini, the designated hitter, he'll hit 6th today for Bud Black's squad. No homers, 2 runs driven in, a 242 average, and a 603 OPS in the 6th spot today. Kyle Farmer, former Dodger, who's given the Giants trouble at times through the years. He's the shortstop today, former catcher out of the shortstop position. Tells you a little bit about the athleticism of Farmer. 239 average, 610 OPS. Mickey Moniak, former number 1 overall pick of the Philadelphia Phillies back in the 2016 draft. He's out in right field today for Colorado. Spent spring training with the Angels, was cut loose and landed in Colorado this season. 200 average, a 686 OPS for Moniak. And then in the 9 spot in the order, it's Adale Amador. He is the switch-hitting second baseman for Colorado, age 22. He's got 1 homer, 3 runs driven in, a 200 average, and a 634 OPS. So you look at the last 5 spots in this Colorado lineup that Bud Black has thrown out there today, and you can see why the Rockies have struggled to win games this season. Starting with Toglia in the 5th spot in the order, no player has an OPS above 700. Mickey Moniak with a 686 OPS. That is the highest of any of the players batting 5 through 9 in this Rockies order. And Moniak with just a 200 batting average. So a huge opportunity for Jordan Hicks to get right, to throw the baseball in the strike zone, to attack these Rockies hitters and put pressure on this Colorado lineup. On the Giants side, here's how Bob Melvin will line things up for his squad. Mike Yastrzemski will lead things off today, as he does against right-handed pitchers. Yastrzemski with 5 homers, 15 runs driven in on the season, 2 stolen bases. 283 average this season for Yastrzemski, an 888 OPS. He's been one of the Giants' most consistent hitters early in the season, and they'll need him to help win these next 2 games against the Rockies. Willie Adames, who the at-bats have looked better of late, he's the shortstop today, batting second for the Giants. At some point, I would think that Bob Melvin, now that the Giants are more than a month into this season, might consider dropping Adames down in the order, considering his struggles, but he does have 2 homers, 15 runs driven in. One of those home runs coming earlier this week in San Diego against the Padres, homer out to right center field, which he also did earlier this season for his first home run out at Citizens Bank Park against the Philadelphia Phillies. Adames hitting just .211 with a .587 OPS on the season. Jung-Hoo Lee hits third. He's cooled off a bit of late. 3 homers, 18 runs driven in, 3 stolen bases, a .314 average, and an .880 OPS for Jung-Hoo Lee. So he's still producing, still getting about a hit a game, but he is not nearly as hot as he was for about that 2-week stretch during the month of April where he got that average up over 370. He was just on fire when the Giants went out to Yankee Stadium, practically single-handedly won them a ball game with 2 home runs off of former Giant, I was going to say forever Giant, you can call him that if you want to, Carlos Rodon, as the Giants took 2 of 3 from the Yankees earlier in this season. Matt Chapman, the cleanup man, 6 home runs after the long shot last night, 17 runs driven in, 4 stolen bases for Chapman, who brought that average up over 200. It dipped under there with some rough performances against the San Diego Padres this week at Petco Park. Chapman struck out the vast majority of his plate appearances against Nick Pivetta, Michael King, and the company on that San Diego pitching staff. 745 OPS for Chapman, so relatively reasonable in that category, but the Giants would like to see the batting average come up just a little bit for their third baseman. Elliot Ramos will hit 5th today for San Francisco. 5 homers, including 2 this week. He had that second-decker blast out at Petco Park on, I believe, Tuesday evening, or was it Wednesday afternoon that Ramos did the damage? Nevertheless, he also homered Thursday night to lead off the ball game for the Giants in the bottom of the first inning. 12 runs driven in, 3 stolen bases for Ramos, who has that average up to 252. OPS sitting at 744 right now, so the Giants would like to see a few more doubles mixed in there for Ramos, who until this week had struggled to hit for power really over the last 3 to 4 weeks for this Giants ball club. Lamont Wade Jr. moved up to the 6th slot in the order today. He is the first baseman. He'll hit left-handed, of course, against Blaylock, the righty for the Colorado Rockies. Wade just 1 home run on the season, 11 runs driven in. The average, tough to tell you about. It's 131 right now. The at-bats have looked better over the last week. The OPS sitting at 503. It's propped up by an on-base percentage that looks good because of Wade's walks that he's drawn. But nevertheless, the Giants need a lot more production out of the first base slot. I think it's coming. I think that you'll see it over the course of the month of May. It's just a matter of how quickly Lamont can raise that average, how much he can get on fire, because the Giants desperately need that. Patrick Bailey will bat 7th today for the Giants. The switch-hitting catcher, of course, will hit from the left side against Blaylock. No homers, 9 runs driven in. Bailey's offense has been a huge point of contention for this ball club right now. A 155 average, a 435 OPS. At times over the last 3-4 weeks, he's looked completely lost at the plate. And I have to wonder, I know that the defense is really good. I know that they really value his pitch framing and the arm. I have to wonder if you'll start to see Sam Huff get more reps at the catcher position over the next few weeks if Bailey can't get things going offensively for this ball club. Speaking of struggling hitters, Luis Matos in the 8th spot in the order for the San Francisco Giants today. Designated hitter, batting from the right side. 1 homer, 1 RBI, 1 stolen base for Matos on the season. A 146 average and a 411 OPS. Matos just has not been able to get things going. Of course, the Giants came into this year thinking that there might be a platoon opportunity for him out in right field, but Yastrzemski's been so good, the Giants have not wanted to sit him down, and Matos just has not given them any reason to play him of late. He gets to start today as the DH. They're giving Wilmer Flores the day off, day game after a night game for Flores. Look, he's not a catcher, but the Giants do want to be cognizant of the fact that he's coming off of a knee injury from last season. They don't want to ride him too hard, so Matos gets the opportunity today against Blaylock, and he needs to start putting up and producing. Otherwise, the Giants may have to make a performance-based decision and look at their options at AAA Sacramento. And speaking of AAA Sacramento, the Giants will round out the lineup today with Brett Wisely, the second baseman. He took the roster spot of the injured Tyler Fitzgerald, who goes on the IL earlier this week with the chest contusion. He comes into Thursday's ball game, gets thrown out on the bases trying to steal second base. Wisely with 5 career caught stealings on 9 attempts, so just 4 successful attempts on the bases. Obviously does not have a hit on the season. He's still looking for his first at bat. He'll get that today against Blaylock and the Colorado Rockies. So that's the way that the lineup shakes out for the Giants. I mentioned the bottom of the Colorado order does not look good. There's a reason the Rockies are 6-26 this season, just 2-15 away from Coors Field. Well, bottom of the Giants order, not much better. You look at Wade hitting 131. You look at Bailey, 155. Matos, 146. And Wisely, who's taken the place of the injured Tyler Fitzgerald on this roster. The Giants need to find a way to produce at the bottom of the lineup today, and obviously Blaylock is the type of pitcher who they can get things done against. A 10.29 ERA, relatively limited major league experience, but this is also a franchise and a ball club that struggled against guys that they'd never seen before. There's no book. There's no guys who've had success in the past against Blaylock, and so there's no idea what to expect for this Giants ball club. So it's imperative that this team gets off to a hot start, that Yastrzemski, Adames, Lee, and Chapman carry things at the top of the order, and then they've got to have one or two guys at the bottom half just start to pick things up, because I know that the schedule's getting softer for the San Francisco Giants. I know that they will face teams like the Twins, the Royals, the Nationals, the Marlins later on this month, but they need this offense to start producing. What you've seen over the last few weeks, particularly earlier this week in San Diego against the Padres, with Thursday's loss against the Rockies, and even just a 4-run output on Friday evening, it's not good enough. It's not going to cut it. It is not the caliber of offense you need if you want to contend in the wild card in the National League. So I know that the Giants are obviously in great position right now. They're one of 6 teams in Major League Baseball with at least 20 wins after crossing that threshold on Friday evening with a 4-0 victory. Robbie Ray was sensational, but the Giants hitters must start picking up this pitching staff. We know that this bullpen is good. We know that the rotation can round into form. Logan Webb, obviously, Cy Young votes in each of the last 3 seasons. Robbie Ray has looked outstanding in each of his last 2 outings. Justin Verlander starting to turn the corner. And could the Giants make a change in their rotation? If Hicks doesn't pitch well today, if Landon Rube struggles this week at Wrigley Field, there could be the case to either call in Hayden Birdsong from the bullpen and turn him into a starter, or call up Kyle Harrison from AAA Sacramento, as he really ramped that velocity up his last start down there for those River Cats. I am Kerry Crowley. The show's Giants Warm-Up. When we come back, your phone calls here on KNBR 104.5 680, the sports leader.
Sound right, boys. Sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
1-1 pitch. Ground ball to third. Chapman, high hop. He's got it. He'll throw to first. Low, and it's pulled out of the dirt by Lamont Wade. Nice play by Wade. And Robbie Ray finishes 7 strong. And who knows? Maybe he's not done for the night. What a performance by Ray.
Robbie Ray was ultimately done for the night after 7 innings, but they were 7 outstanding innings and good enough for the Giants to pick up the win over the Colorado Rockies. Ray improves to 4-0 on the season. The Giants an undefeated 7-0 in the games that Ray has started for this ball club. And last night, far and away, his best performance. Just 2 hits, no runs allowed. First time this season he's kept the opponent scoreless. 2 walks and 8 strikeouts, matches the season high, which, of course, he had last time out against the Texas Rangers over 7 innings. So Ray was outstanding. The Giants were in firm command of the game, and that's when Bob Melvin turned the game over to Hayden Birdsong out of the bullpen. Birdsong goes 2 innings, 1 hit allowed, 1 strikeout, bringing his ERA down to 1.00 on the season. Best in the Giants bullpen, and it's now time to have the discussion. It's the discussion that we've been having on sports phones in the evening. I know that Bill's had it on Extra Innings, and I've been reluctant to bring up this topic on the Giants pregame show here, Giants Warm Up. But I think a month into the season, here on Saturday, May 3rd, it's finally time to discuss what the best version of the Giants rotation would look like. With Hayden Birdsong continuing to dominate out of the bullpen, we continue to get calls, we continue to get texts, and anytime you're out of the ballpark, someone stops you and says, what about Birdsong as a starter? Why are we wasting this guy in the bullpen? That is the question that I hear consistently from Giants fans. And my answer through and through, from the beginning of spring training up until now, has been, look, Hayden Birdsong was a college reliever. He started his minor league career as a reliever. It wasn't really until about 2 years ago that the Giants transitioned him into a starter role and decided that this is the path for him to the big leagues. And so he doesn't have the foundation of innings. He doesn't have the workload that you would expect for someone of his age to have accumulated to where you could just comfortably say, hey, every 5 days, go give us 6, 7 innings, 100 pitches. And I have said that the optimal time to get Birdsong in the rotation is a point in the year where you feel like he could finish it out and realistically pitch into October if needed. And I've said that because if you take a look at the Giants' 5 starters who they opened the season with, Logan Webb, Justin Verlander, Robbie Ray, Jordan Hicks, and Landon Root. If you look at their pure stuff, who has the best pitches, who gets the most swings and misses, and you include Hayden Birdsong as a pitcher who you're evaluating on this Giant staff, you take those 5 starters, add Birdsong into the mix, and there's 6. I think you could make a realistic case that Birdsong has the best pure stuff of any of those starters. I think Logan Webb knows at this juncture of his career how to best maximize his weapons. Obviously, Justin Verlander knows how to pitch better than anyone in the Giants rotation. He doesn't have the same caliber of stuff that he once did, but he certainly knows how to navigate a lineup. We've seen that the last few times out. Robbie Ray proving the last 2 outings that when he's on his game, he can be very difficult to deal with. And from a pure stuff standpoint, if you look at the 100-mile-an-hour fastball and the splitter from Jordan Hicks, you see why he's in the rotation. You see why the Giants wanted to give him a long leash to start the season. Landon Roop, from a stuff standpoint, has fallen behind. The curveball is outstanding. He doesn't have another offering that's projecting as a plus pitch right now. During spring training, the cutter and the changeup appeared promising. Since the regular season has begun, those pitches are ones that Roop has struggled to command. The curveball this season for Roop has generated 25 strikeouts. Opponents are hitting just 163 against the pitch, slugging just 306. Those are great numbers for a pitcher. The issue for Roop is that opponents are hitting 358 against his sinker, 455 against his changeup, and 500 against his cutter. This in a league where the average batting average is 242. So his second best offering, he's given up 35 hits every 100 times guys are coming to the plate. A 358 average. That's not going to cut it. It tells me that Roop is better off pitching in a relief role, going back to the minor leagues, honing the curveball and focusing on either the sinker or the cutter. And at this juncture of his career, probably the sinker. Can he still throw the changeup? Maybe. But go down to the minor leagues, figure out if you can be a 2-inning guy with 2+ pitches. We know the curveball can be great at the major league level. We've seen it be great at the major league level. But until the sinker is good enough to pass, I don't think you can leave Landon Roop in this rotation. The Giants will continue to try it because they like the 4-pitch mix. I believe that Roop will get the opportunity this week against the Chicago Cubs on Monday at Wrigley Field. But if that doesn't go well, I think you could make the case the Giants ought to start considering a performance-based switch in their rotation. And there's multiple ways that this could play out. Kyle Harrison is throwing on the days that Landon Roop is throwing right now. Now, does Kyle Harrison have better stuff than Hayden Birdsong? The fastball, the breaking ball, the changeup, none of those pitches are as good as Hayden Birdsong's fastball, curveball, slider, and changeup. Birdsong clearly has better pitches, a better mix, and more conviction when he throws pretty much each of those offerings than Harrison does at this point in his career. But Harrison is also starting to force the issue down at AAA Sacramento. You look at Harrison's numbers of late. April 24th against El Paso, 6 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts. April 30th against Reno, 5 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. This is the version of Harrison the Giants thought that they would get coming into spring training. He started off behind everyone else because he got sick. He had a rough offseason from a physical standpoint. It's understandable. But now Harrison is putting himself back in the equation. So if the Giants wanted to, they could say, Landon, you're headed back to AAA. We'll use you as a starter, but when you come back to the big leagues, it might be as a reliever. They could bring up Kyle Harrison. The other guy who the Giants could take a look at in that 5th spot in the rotation is Carson Seymour, 26-year-old right-hander. He's on the 40-man roster. The Giants acquired him in that 2021 trade for Darren Ruff. Or excuse me, it was after that, I believe. Regardless, down at AAA Sacramento, a 1.93 ERA, 28 innings, 30 strikeouts. The command has been very good. He's not a high volume strikeout guy, but Carson Seymour is getting by. 5 innings his last time out, 2 runs. The time before that, 5 innings, 2 runs. And this is all in a PCL that's extremely hitter-friendly. So if you go more than about 6, 7 starts in the season, you keep that ERA under 2 at AAA, I believe you can get by in the big leagues. Now, I saw Seymour during spring training when I was down in Scottsdale. He threw against the Dodgers. Giants tested him against the Dodgers. He looked very good. The fastball is mid to high 90s. The breaking ball was sharp. He's someone who's warranting to be part of the discussion with his performance. Is his performance going to be better than Hayden Birdsong? Almost certainly not. So why do I bring up the names Harrison and Seymour when the Giants could simply just insert Birdsong into the rotation? I think it's because they've still got to be extremely careful with the innings that with the innings that Birdsong wraps up. And so if the Giants are playing the long game here, if the Giants say, we want Birdsong to be set up to pitch for us in the rotation in August and September and October, I think they keep him in the bullpen. I think they keep doing these 2-3 inning stints, and they keep limiting the pitch count to about a max of 40 to 50. If the Giants just wanted to say, hey, we're going to go for it right now, we're going to take the guardrails off, and we're going to go with our best possible rotation, then Birdsong's in there. I don't think it's a question at all. In fact, it's just a question of, does he have as good of stuff as anyone on this major league staff? I think you could make a compelling case that he might have the best. That fastball's electric. The curveball's really good. The slider, the changeup, he throws them in any count. Watching Birdsong pitch, like we saw on Friday night, you can see the potential. It's just a matter of when you want to realize that potential in the big league rotation. But I think the Giants have reached the point where there's a dilemma, and unless Landon Roop convinces them otherwise with an outstanding outing against a really tough Cubs lineup in a really difficult place for pitchers to throw, Wrigley Field this week, then I think we will see a shakeup in the rotation. And it's going to be fascinating to see what Buster Posey, Zach Manassian, and Bob Melvin do. Because if they decide that it is a performance-based decision, then Birdsong will earn his way into the rotation. And so far, pretty much every decision the Giants have made during the Buster Posey regime has been performance-based. When they called up David Villar following the Casey Schmidt injury, it was performance-based. Villar was not on the 40-man roster, but he was the best hitter down at AAA Sacramento. He was the guy ahead of a Brett Wisely who could come up and make a difference. When they chose to keep Christian Koss on the 40-man roster and then the 26 opening day roster, it was because his performance in Scottsdale merited a position on the opening day roster. So the Giants have this merit system that they've used to determine who gets opportunities, who receives playing time, who's on the roster, and what kind of a role that they have. But we're reaching a breaking point where it is increasingly clear that the one person who isn't necessarily being considered for a role out of merit is Birdsong. Because if you look purely at the relief numbers this season, and if you look purely at what he did during spring training, Birdsong has passed Landon Roop, in my opinion. And he may have passed a few other guys. He may be better right now than Verlander and Ray and Hicks. Not ready to say that he's better than Logan Webb, but if the Giants had a playoff series beginning tomorrow, you could make a very compelling case that Hayden Birdsong should be pitching out of the starting rotation in a game for this team. He is that good. He gets that many swings and misses, and he has that much conviction when he pitches. This guy oozes confidence, and you saw it in the 8th inning. You saw it in the 9th inning. You saw it last weekend against the Texas Rangers. He gave up the leadoff triple to Jock Peterson. Like, what was that, Sunday's ball game? He gives up the leadoff triple to Jock Peterson, and then he comes back, and he gets exactly the outs he needs to prevent a run from scoring. Tie ball game, doesn't matter. Hayden Birdsong was never phased. And so what will the Giants decide to prioritize in the month of May? Will they prioritize having the best possible rotation at this point in the season, or will they play the long game? Will they bring up a Harrison? Will they bring up a Seymour? Will they just keep Roop in the rotation and prioritize stability and continuity even if Roop's performance hasn't merited him keeping that spot? Now, Roop can change this with an excellent outing against the Cubs. He can change this by landing that cutter and that changeup for strikes. But right now, the only pitch that he's able to throw effectively at the major league level is the curveball. And that, to me, screams a future as a reliever. It might be as a 2-inning reliever. It might be in the exact role that Hayden Birdsong's in right now. But I think if you're looking ahead to the month of September, to the Giants maximizing what this rotation could look like, I don't think that Landon Roop's a part of it. I'm not sure that Jordan Hicks is a part of it. I think that Hayden Birdsong is absolutely a part of it. I think that Kyle Harrison and Carson Seymour are certainly going to be a part of that conversation. Now, Carson Whisenhunt, he might be a 2-inning reliever at that point. He's down at AAA Sacramento, not throwing nearly as well as Harrison and Seymour, but the young left-hander has a fastball changeup combination that could be lethal out of the bullpen. The Giants could use another left-hander out of their bullpen. It's been Eric Miller this season, and that's a heavy burden to carry. I know that they want Carson Whisenhunt pitching out of the rotation in AAA Sacramento for as long as possible. I know that it's best to train him as a minor league reliever, as a minor league starter. But ultimately, it's about winning at the major league level. And to win this season, to win as many games as possible, they may have to make Whisenhunt part of this major league bullpen. So a lot of different factors at play here. A lot of different considerations for the San Francisco Giants. None of these things getting any easier, even if the Giants are winning ball games. It's been a tough week. 3 consecutive losses to National League West teams, but they did bounce back behind Robbie Ray on Friday evening. And Hayden Birdsong, at the end of that game, he gave you a lot to think about. A lot to think about, and I'm sure the Giants are only beginning to process what these conversations are going to look like over the course of the next month as for the first time in the Buster Posey era, there might be some more difficult decisions. There might be the case to make some performance-based transactions on this Major League roster. When we come back, I'll take a look at this lineup and why there could be some performance-based decisions coming down the pike for this ball club and when those could happen. I am Kerry Crowley. The show is Giants Warm Up. If you've got thoughts, 415-808-KNBR is the number. Phone lines are wide open right now. Raph will take your phone calls. We would love to hear from you as we inch closer to Giants baseball on the radio. First pitch, about 90 minutes away out at Oracle Park. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
swing, ground ball to second. Charged by Koss. Backhands it to second one. Adames to first. A double play. Started nicely by Koss with a backhanded flip.
Giants fans, first pitch isn't too far away as KNBR's Giants warm-up continues on the sports leader.
We are back here on Giants warm-up. First pitch coming your way 1:05 this afternoon as Jordan Hicks takes the mound against the Colorado Rockies. That highlight you just heard, Hayden Birdsong escaping the 8th inning of last night's ball game, had given up a single, but the 4-6-3 double play got him out of the frame. Birdsong then threw a clean 9th inning, and the Giants win it with ease, 4-0 over the Colorado Rockies. So we talked about Birdsong, the potential for how he can impact this Giants rotation over the course of the second half of the season, when the Giants might want to make decisions about making changes to their rotation, what the Giants will consider when looking at who should be in this rotation and who should be prioritized for the second half of the season. I also think it's worth looking at this Giants lineup, because this is a group that right now, at least over the course of the last week, has held this team back a little bit. There are a number of struggling hitters, and I would say through the first few weeks of April, one of the main reasons the Giants were able to grind out wins and stay hot and keep pace with the Dodgers and the Padres in the National League West is they had 2 or 3 hitters who were far outperforming reasonable expectations for what could be expected of them. Wilmer Flores, up until a few days ago, was leading the National League in RBIs. No one would have seen that coming. Mike Yastrzemski, for much of April, had an OPS above 900. He was moved into the leadoff spot, and he was dynamic for the San Francisco Giants. A force multiplier at the top of the order. No one saw that coming. And Jung-Hoo Lee, one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball during the month of April, hit well over 300. The OPS, I believe in the middle of the month, was up above 1,000. Up until a few days ago, was up above 900. This is someone who is realizing his full potential in the center of this Giants lineup, and it's critical. The Giants have needed every bit of it, but the challenge for this team over the last few weeks is outside of those 3 players, and Flores has cooled off of late, Lee and Yastrzemski have had a slower week. No one else has produced. You look at the left side of the infield, the $333 million left side of the infield, and until a home run last night, Matt Chapman had a terrible 2-week stretch. Willy Adames' OPS is still under 600. He's one of the worst qualified hitters in Major League Baseball right now. Now, you can chalk some of this up to a slow start, some of the pressure that comes from signing the long-term extensions that Chapman and Adames have both signed. But at the end of the day, production is expected, and production is required against teams like the Colorado Rockies. For the Giants to navigate the month of May, which is a softer schedule than the month of April, they need their best players to produce. So it's on Chapman, it's on Adames, it is on the guys making more than $20 million annually to give this team a chance to win on a daily basis. Jung-Hoo Lee has done that. Mike Yastrzemski, for the most part, has done that. And Wilmer Flores has, like I said, exceeded every realistic expectation. Already out-homering his total from last year, already picking up more runs batted in than he had a season ago. Now, of course, this team was counting on Gerard Encarnacion for some offense, but you can't chalk up one injury that occurred toward the end of spring training to what we've seen over the last week to 2 weeks. It's been a while since the Giants scored 5 runs in a ball game. In fact, it was a 5-2 win on Monday, April 21st. They did score 6 in a win over the Milwaukee Brewers on the 24th. So it's been more than a week since they scored 6 runs in a ball game. But really, we haven't seen an explosion for this offense since the series in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park, when the Giants on Monday the 14th won 10-4 and then came back on Wednesday the 16th and won 11-4. Since then, it has been a lot of low-scoring games, it's been a lot of one-run games, and a lot of games that the Giants' offense has looked lost. And so I see the lineup that Bob Melvin has put out today for this ball club, and I do have concerns about where this team is headed and if there are some performance-based changes the Giants might need to make. You look at Yastrzemski at the top of the order, he's been great. 5 homers, 15 runs driven in, a 283 average, and 888 OPS. Obviously, you're not going to change that. You want him in there against the right-handers. But Willy Adames in the 2 slot in the order, at what point did the Giants decide to take a little bit of the pressure off and have him hit 5th or 6th. I think they would have reached that point if there were any other players that merited consideration in the 2 slot in the order. But right now they don't have one of them. You could make the case that today Elliot Ramos could bat 2nd and Adames could bat 5th. But against this Colorado Rockies team that, let's be honest, doesn't have the pitching to compete in the National League West. Bradley Blaylock, a great story. Former 32nd round draft pick of the Boston Red Sox. The fact that he made it to the majors and did it by the time he was 24 years old, that's incredible. But he's got a 10.29 ERA on the season. So if Adames can't hit Blaylock and Adames can't get it going over the next few weeks, at that point I think that Bob Melvin will have no choice but to drop him down in the order. Then you've got Matt Chapman, who the average entering yesterday's game was under 200. And he did homer yesterday. He did hit the big 418-foot blast against Antonio Senzatella. But Chapman this week against Nick Pivetta and Michael King looked lost at the plate. Fastballs from Jeremiah Estrada, Robert Suarez, thrown by him. This is someone who's going to be a centerpiece of this Giants order. He's critical to this team's success. Obviously, you're not going to move him too far down in the order. And right now, you can't. You need him. 6 home runs. Second on the team behind Wilmer Flores right now. But a 202 average in the cleanup spot, I know that average isn't everything. OPS far more significant at 745. But the Giants need more from the man making $151 million over at the hot corner. And then you look toward the bottom half of the order, and this is really where my concerns, they remain. Because I think Adames will get it going. I believe that Chapman will do what he did last season, dig himself out of the early season slump, and be great. I think he's one of the best third basemen in baseball. I think he's an incredible value addition to this team. I think that over the course of 162 games, Matt Chapman will thrive. But you're not seeing it right now. You're not seeing Willie Adames thrive. I think they'll come around, but I have questions about the other players. I look at LaMonte Jr. over at first base, and I wonder how long the Giants can put up with a 131 average and a 503 OPS. Like, will Gerard Encarnacion come back at the end of May and be given the opportunity to get everyday at-bats over at first base? And is that even a good idea, given Encarnacion's lack of history over at first base? I mean, this is not someone who's going to project as a plus defender. This is not someone who really should be doing anything other than being a DH and potentially a corner outfielder, but even then, I'm not that comfortable. So, should the Giants have gone after Anthony Rizzo this offseason? Should they have made a harder push on Paul Goldschmidt, who ended up signing with the Yankees and provided the go-ahead game-winning 3-run home run for New York in last night's ball game? Hindsight's 20/20, but things aren't looking all that up at first base. And to anyone saying Bryce Eldridge is the solution, Bryce Eldridge to me is 1 year away. He's in Double-A, 20 years old. I think he's got a remarkably bright future in a Giants uniform, but I don't see it happening this year. I don't see Eldridge catching fire. I think that he's going to struggle against pitchers in the Eastern League. I think the Giants ought to keep him at Double-A most of this season. I know that he made his way up to Triple-A at the end of last year, but I think he really is at least a year, maybe a year and a half away from impacting the big league level. So beyond Wade at first base, it's, can Casey Schmidt get healthy? Can Gerard Encarnacion be enough of an offensive plus that he's not a defensive liability at that position? I think first base is a huge question mark for the Giants this season. Then you've got the catcher position. Patrick Bailey hitting 7th today. Sam Huff had a nice night last night. The average is going to sit at 200. The OPS probably between 600 and 700 over the course of the season. But Bailey, the starting catcher, is hitting 155 with a 435 OPS. His OPS plus for his career is under 630. This is someone who has never demonstrated for an extended period of time that he can be a reasonably productive hitter at the major league level. And the glove is great. The arm is fantastic. The framing skills are outstanding. But he's hitting 7th, not 9th. And he's hitting 7th out of necessity because Luis Matos is the DH today. And the fact that the Giants don't have anyone else they can turn to as the DH is an indicator that this lineup is up against it. Matos, the DH today in the 8th spot in the order, a 146 average and a 411 OPS. I don't know who's down at AAA right now, if the Giants have many options, but at some point they need to consider looking at someone else on this major league roster because Matos so far has not been able to give them the production that they need. 146 is the average, 411 is the OPS, and he's not a plus defender at any of the 3 outfield spots. That to me spells trouble. You take a good long hard look at what Grant McCrae is doing down there. You see maybe what Marco Luciano's doing down there. I know they want to get both of those guys every day at bats, but The major league roster and winning in the major leagues at some point becomes the bigger priority, and Luis Matos has not been able to provide the Giants with much value or depth off of this bench. And then the second base position is one where all of a sudden, Tyler Fitzgerald, who was hitting well, good average, good OPS, he's on the injured list, chest contusion. Christian Koss is kind of a Kelby Tomlinson out there at second base. He's probably never going to be an above-average major league producer. He'll hit some singles for you, and he's had a nice little run here for the San Francisco Giants, but they've got Brett Wisely out there today, who I don't think is ever going to be a plus hitter for this Giants lineup. And so they really rely on Fitzgerald. He's on the injured list for probably 2 weeks. How can they manage at second base with Koss and, of course, with Brett Wisely now? Casey Schmidt on the IL, he could have helped fill in there, but this is a Giants team that certainly looks to be lacking depth, and that's exposed today as they've got two struggling franchise cornerstones in Adames and Chapman, followed by at the bottom of the order, 6, 7, 8, and 9, OPS is for Wade at 503, Bailey at 435, Matos at 411, and Wisely, who hasn't taken a major league at bat this season. That is not a recipe for success. In fact, you look at that lineup and you think, I know the Giants are 20-13. I know that this team has exceeded expectations. But if you realistically want to be able to contend in the National League for a wild card spot, you're going to have to make some uncomfortable decisions to shake things up for the betterment of the roster, inevitably, because the wins that the Giants have racked up, they'll start to turn into losses. They will start to turn into games where, hey, you're stuck at 3 runs and bottom of the order comes up against a team's closer, you're not able to push a run across. You're stuck at 2 runs, 7th inning, and a team wants to get its starter through the lineup for the 3rd time. You're at the bottom of the order. Those guys aren't producing. The Giants have been very fortunate this season. They played extremely well. They have made their own luck with some of these comeback wins. But at the same time, I think Buster Posey, Zach Manassi, and Bob Melvin have to be realistic about the state of the bottom half of this order and have to look inside the organization and see if there are improvements to be made. And if not, where can they potentially find some externally? It's a long season. The Giants are 20-13 right now, better than we would have anticipated through 33 games. But if they want to keep up that pace, if they want to contend in the National League, which is the goal this season, they may have to make some uncomfortable decisions at some point during the month of May. I'm not saying they're imminent. I'm not saying they're going to happen tomorrow. But I am saying that if these trends continue, these troubling trends don't reverse course, stability and continuity may be thrown out the window at some point this month. I am Kerry Crowley. The show is Giants Warm Up. We're getting you set for Giants baseball here on KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
2-1 pitch. Swing and a smash. Fair! Pass first and off the edge of the glove of Tolia. It ricochets over to the sidewall and foul ground. Coming in to score is Flores. Over to third goes Ramos, and it's a double and a run batted in for Lamont Wade Jr. 1-0 Giants.
Our KNBR Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the Sports Leader.
Lamont Wade Jr. certainly needed that swing. The struggling first baseman fighting through it right now at the plate for the San Francisco Giants, but he was key in their 4-0 win over the Colorado Rockies. Opened the scoring on Friday evening. The Giants never looked back. Robbie Ray, 7 innings of 2-hit ball, no runs allowed, as he picked up win number 4 this season. The Giants picked up win number 20, the 6th Major League team to reach that milestone, 5 of them in the National League right now. An impressive start to the season for the San Francisco Giants. They're hoping to build off of that today. They must take this series from the Colorado Rockies. They lost on Thursday night. They cannot afford a split against a 6-26 Rockies team that's just 2-15 away from Coors Field this season. So the pressure is on Jordan Hicks today. The pressure will again be on Logan Webb tomorrow when he returns to the mound, and of course the Giants bullpen as well. But we just touched on the Giants lineup. A number of struggling hitters need to get going. They got Lamont Wade Jr. hitting well last night. They got a home run out of Matt Chapman. They're hoping that those are signs of what's to come today against Colorado Rockies right-hander Bradley Blaylock. We're just a few minutes away from the start of our Giants pregame show. Giants warm-up, our extended weekend pregame show rolls on right now. We'll give you some scores from around Major League Baseball from the couple of games that are in action right now. Bottom of the 7th inning in the Bronx, where the Yankees hold a 2-1 lead over the Tampa Bay Rays right now. Aaron Judge went deep in that ball game off of Zach Littell, forever Giant on the hill for the Tampa Bay Rays. How about Aaron Judge? 2 for 3 today. His average up to 435. His on-base percentage at 524. His slugging percentage at 798. This is Barry Bonds-esque. It is the closest that Major League Baseball has had to a Bonds-like figure since the all-time home run king stepped away from the game. Aaron Judge Judge continuing to torch opposing pitching. Last night, the Yankees won behind a 3-run home run from Paul Goldschmidt over the right field porch. The Yankees sitting at 19-13, hoping to become the 7th Major League team to reach the 20-win threshold. They would be the second in the American League behind the Detroit Tigers, who are 21-12. The Giants will be playing in Detroit, Comerica Park later on this month. They've got a Memorial Day game at Comerica Park against the Tigers. 3-game set in the midst of that difficult 9-game road trip. They're in Washington, D.C., then they fly to Detroit, and then they wrap things up against the Miami Marlins. So kind of flying all over the country, crisscrossing the Eastern time zone there as they'll go our nation's capital out to Detroit, and then, of course, down to Miami. One other game in action right now. The White Sox lead the Houston Astros 3-1. Hunter Brown on the hill for the Astros. Andrew Benintendi already 1-for-1 with an RBI and a run scored for the White Sox. Bottom of the third inning there at the guaranteed rate field on the south side of Chicago. The White Sox won last night's ball game, so they're looking to take that series from the Astros, sitting at 16-15 right now. Framber Valdez took his 4th loss of the season last night for Houston. He has not been very good this year, struggling to get that ERA down below around 4.5, and really one of the best ground ball pitchers in the major leagues. The Giants took it to him earlier this year, and so he has struggled to rebound ever since that early season performance against San Francisco. Some other games on the docket today. The Blue Jays hosting the Cleveland Guardians. Kevin Gossman, former Giant, will face Gavin Williams in that ball game. Pirates and Padres doing battle at PNC Park. Vasquez on the hill for San Diego. Bailey Falter gets the call for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Red Sox and the Twins out at Fenway Park. Marlins play host to the A's this evening. Max Meyer, the young prospect, taking the ball for Miami. Phillies and the D-backs, good National League matchup as Aaron Nola takes on Brandon Pfaadt in that game. Reds and the Nationals, Nick Lodolo, who shut down the Giants a few times this season, he takes the ball for Cincinnati. Bruce Bochy's Rangers host the Seattle Mariners after getting blown out last night. The Brewers take on the Cubs this evening. Jose Quintana, 4-0 on the season, 1.14 ERA for Milwaukee. The Orioles and the Royals, of course, a few other games later on this evening. The Braves and the Dodgers in Atlanta, Truist Park. Spencer Schwellenbach against Roki Sasaki in a marquee pitching matchup in that game. The Angels and the Tigers, the Big A this evening. Jack Flaherty back home in Southern California going for the Tigers up against veteran Kyle Hendricks. And one postponement to tell you about the Mets and the Cardinals. They'll have a doubleheader tomorrow afternoon. I am Kerry Crowley. This is Giants Warm-Up. More coming your way on the other side as our Giants pregame show begins on KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Saturday in San Francisco, we're at Oracle Park, and it's a beautiful, a little bit blustery day here at the ballpark. Giants and the Rockies for Game 3 of this 4-game series. Giants have the right-hander Jordan Hicks trying to make it 2 in a row against Colorado. Bradley Blaylock will start, a right-hander for the Rockies. I'm Dave Fleming, along with John Miller. Full pregame show to come. It's the Giants and the Rockies. Baseball on the radio.